So last time we finished chapter 14. We are in page 40. At the top, page 65 in the bottom, if you're looking at. And we're going today to start on chapter 15. We're continuing to find new things about this creature called the Beinoni. And if you remember in previous classes, we talked about the two Rasha, two types of people who are Rasha. And we talked about the two Tzaddikim, which we're not going to talk much in this book, the two righteous ones. Today we're going to find out that there are actually two kinds of Beinonim. And we're going to mainly divides each one is many levels, but there's two types of Beinonim, as we're going to see. So פרק ט"ו. ובזה יובן, in this we're going to understand מה שכתוב, that it's written, ושבתם וראיתם בין צדיק לרשע. It says, and you will return, and you will see the difference between righteous and evil. We know what righteous now is. We know what a righteous person is. We know what an evil person is. In simplicity, righteous is someone not who doesn't sin. Righteous is someone who never wants to sin. An evil person is someone who sins. Simple. And then it continues. בין עובד אלוקים לאשר לא עבדו. Between someone who serves God and someone who doesn't. שההפרש בין עובד אלוקים, that the difference between someone who serves God לצדיק. Why do we call someone who serves God and a tzaddik? הוא שעובד הוא לשון הווה. A tzaddik does, as we're going to find out, doesn't serve God. He's already on a level, it's like he graduated from college. The moment you graduate from college, most people stop learning. So a tzaddik, did he think he's already reached a level, and now he's a professor. He's a tzaddik. A professor doesn't mean someone who learns. A professor means someone who achieved. But what does Oved Elokim mean? Someone who serves God. It means he's actively serving right now. She'oved hu lashon hove. That serves God means right now. Shu be'emtza avodah. He's in the middle of the service. And what's the middle of the service of a Beinoni? What is he supposed to do? When a Beinoni wakes up in the morning, what is he supposed to do? And the answer is simple. He has to battle his demons all day long. That's the service of a Beinoni. From the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to sleep, he battles the demons. That's what serving God means, to battle your demons. Your demons are going to tell you to do things against God. He knows he's not going to do it, the Beinoni. He's not like a Rasha. But he's constantly attracted to it. And he constantly has to push the demons away. שהיא המלחמה עם היצר הרע. This is the war that the Beinoni has with the evil inclination. להתגבר עליו, to win, ולגרשו מהעיר קטנה, to chase him away from the small city. The small city is an analogy for the body. In the small city, in his body, from the moment he wakes up, the evil inclination is constantly attracting him to do wrong. שלא יתלבש באיברי הגוף. He needs to battle constantly, that the evil inclination is not going to get dressed in any of the parts of the body. שהוא באמת עבודה ועמל גדול, and this is in truth great work, it's hard work, להילחם בו תמיד, to always fight against the evil inclination. והיינו הבינוני, and this is the בינוני. Let's just discuss this a little bit. Most people think that when the evil inclination is attacking you, it means you're doing something wrong. Over here, the Alter Rebbe says, no, that is what it means to serve God. Service of God means to constantly battle against your evil inclination. That's what service of God means. If you're not serving God, if you're not battling your evil inclination, you're not really serving God, as we're going to find out soon. In other words, is a tzaddik in the middle of service of God? No. The answer is no. He already reached a place where he always wants to do the right thing. He's not in the middle of serving God. And we're going to find out today that there's also a weird Beinani. A weird Beinani is almost like a tzaddik. He doesn't serve God either. And over here, the Alter Rebbe tells you, you don't want to be this weird Beinani. The fact that you are constantly battling against the evil inclination is not a bug. It's not a bug that means there's something wrong within the system. It's a feature. It's supposed to be that way. You're supposed to be constantly fighting against your evil inclination. That's what a Beinani is. So let's continue. אבל הצדיק, the righteous person, he's called נקרא עבד השם. He's called the servant of God. He's not called serving God. He's called a servant of God. בשם התואר. This is his title. כמו שם חכם, for example, a sage, or a professor, or melech, or a king. שכבר נעשה חכם, he already became wise, or he already became a king. כך זה כבר, so a tzaddik, a righteous person, what he already did what? עבד וגמר לגמרי עבודת המלחמה. He finished the service of God. He doesn't need to serve God anymore. He already got to a level where he never works in order to serve God. He wants to serve God. Just like we want to eat, we want to have a relationship with the wife, a tzaddik wants to do a mitzvah. Yeah, that's the way, that's his status. That's where he got to. So he already had a war with the evil inclination, עד כי ויגרשהו וילך לו, until the evil inclination is no longer within him, וליבו חלל בקרבו, and his heart is empty within him. In other words, there's only good inclination in his system all day long. ובבינוני, and now we're going to find out that in the בינוני himself, יש גם כן שתי מדרגות. We're going to have two types of בינונים. עובד אלוקים, a בינוני that serves God, ואשר לא עבדו, and a בינוני that doesn't serve God. Remember, this בינוני that doesn't serve God is not a rasha. What does it mean he's not a rasha? If you ask him, can you see yourself ever in any mitzvah, ever in your life, going against God? He says, there's no way I can do it. He will tell you, I'm not going to do it. Am I attracted to go against God? Yes. But am I ever going to do it? No. He's a Beinani. He's not a rasha. So the question is, if he's a Beinani, why don't you call him a server of God? ואף על פי כן, so even though he's a Beinani, he doesn't serve God, so what do we call him a Beinani? אף על פי כן אינו רשע, he's not wicked. Why? כי לא עבר מימיו שום עבירה קלה, because he never in his life transgressed ever. Not only that, גם קיים כל המצוות ששאלו לקיימן. Also, every opportunity that he had to do a mitzvah, he never was lazy. He always did it. We're not talking about somebody who's we're saying he doesn't serve God, but he sins. No. He doesn't serve God, but he never sinned and he's never going to sin. So why do we call him someone who doesn't serve God? We're going to have to find out. וקיים כל המצוות שלו לקיימם. Even which mitzvah did it do? Talmud Torah כנגד כולם. He never, if he had 2 minutes or 1 minute or 30 seconds free time in his life for whatever thing, he wasn't required to help the wife, he wasn't required to spend time with the kids, he wasn't required to work. He had free time, even 2 minutes. Never did it happen in his life that he spent 2 minutes not studying Torah. I have 2 minutes, I'm supposed to do what I'm supposed to do. He can't even see himself not doing it. That's the level. So why do we call such a person someone who doesn't serve God? ולא פסיק פומיה מגירסה. He doesn't stop ever learning. So you know why he doesn't serve God? Thank you. Very good. אלא שאינו עושה שום מלחמה עם היצר לנצחו. He doesn't do any war with the evil inclination in order to win. Why not? Why doesn't he do? No, if it's a conqueror, he's a tzaddik.
He's doing it for the pay.
Which pay?
From Hashem. He knows, he's smart. He's smart, he knows I go against Hashem, bad things happen, I'm smart.
Oh, that could be. That could be. So, but let's see. Why he doesn't do it? Al yedei or Hashem, he's got the right intellectual thought, המאיר על נפש האלוקית שבמוח, that shines on his godly soul in his brain, השליט על הלב, that always governs the heart. But the question is, so how come he doesn't have to battle against his desires? Why? I battle against my desire all day long. How come he doesn't? How come he doesn't have to battle? If he doesn't battle his desires, maybe he's righteous. Why do we call him a Benoni? Yeah, maybe he's righteous. So how does he know he's a Benoni? So he tells you, no, he's not righteous. Mipnei, the only reason why he doesn't battle his evil inclination, שאין יצרו עומד לנגדו כלל. Because he put himself in such a situation that his evil inclination doesn't come into play. And it can be for many reasons. One of the reasons, he finds the best environment to be in. He goes to shul, he goes to Beis Midrash, even the working people that he associates with are sages. So in his life, there's no opportunity for the evil inclination to come around. He's surrounding himself constantly with what? With holiness. So it's not like if he would go out into this world, the real world, yes, the evil inclination will come, but he's not stupid. He says, I don't want to go out into this real world. I'll stay out within my limited environment.
He doesn't walk in the street, because if you walk in the street, you see women, and some of them could be attractive.
Oh, we're going to talk about that also. שאין יצרו עומד לנגדו כלל לבטלו. That his evil inclination doesn't stand against him. לבטלו מתורתו, to make him not learn Torah, ועבודתו, not serving God. ואין צריך ללחום עמו כלל. And he doesn't need to fight with it at all. But we still say, look, the guy doesn't spend 2 seconds not learning. How is that possible? I'm lazy by nature. Everybody's lazy by nature. You want to relax. You want to have a good time. You want to see what's going on in the politics. It's interesting. Yeah? But it says not everybody is like this. Some people, כגון שהוא מתמיד בלימודו בטבעו. There are some people that God made them their scholars. They enjoy scholarly matters. Even if he wouldn't be religious, you know what he would do all day long? He would study something. This is the way God made him. In other words, the reason why he's studying is not because he doesn't need to battle against the inclination like us, that we want to relax all day long. He's studying because he likes to study. Because that's his nature. By nature, God made him someone who loves the act of studying. מתולתו, על ידי תגבורת המרה השחורה. We're not going to go deep into this because there's two kinds of attitudes people have. The two kinds of attitudes people have is called mara shchora and mara levana. White, call it attitude, and black attitude. Black attitude means that the guy by nature is a serious guy. You know, sometimes you can see a 5-year-old and he's acting like a 50-year-old. You know, he's serious. He's a serious 5-year-old. And some 5-year-olds, you know, this is mara shchora and mara levana in simplicity. Mara shchora is someone who's serious. You tell him something to do, of course, it needs to be done. The teacher said, you remember the guy in class who used to say, but the teacher says we can't run around. So he doesn't run around. But the teacher says we have to learn. But he learns. This is his attitude. This is the way God made him. Yeah? And then there's the clowns. All the rest of us, you know, running around all the time, not listening to the teacher. That's the way he was born. It's not like something he worked on. He doesn't have to battle his evil inclination. This is his inclination. Vechen, but you say, what about women? Isn't he attracted to women? Doesn't he attract to all these things? So he says, Vechen en lo milchama mitavot nashim. It's possible he doesn't even get attracted from the desires of the women. Why? Mipnei shu metzunan betivo. He's somebody who doesn't care about women so much. You know, by nature, some people run after every dress they see, and some people, they have in their minds, you know, more important things. He's got, look in his mind, he's got studies, he's got his job, he's got, you know, if anybody who was in college, remember, there were the guys that used to make sure they're going to be in every party. And then there's the guys that even in the best party, they wouldn't come. Why? Because they need to learn. Yes. You know? Yeah, because they need to learn. That's their attitude. So he's one of those guys that he will never party. Why? Because that's his nature. He doesn't like parties. His nature, he doesn't like the girls. He likes to sit down and learn. And what about food? Doesn't get excited by food? So he says no. Yeah, we have over here, if Moshe Binyaminov would be here, you know, Moshe Binyaminov can go the whole day without eating. Me, if I go 3 hours without eating, I don't know what to do with myself. I immediately go, where's the food? Where's the thing? Where's that? Yeah. So some people, it doesn't talk to them food. They completely forget. If somebody reminds them to eat, they will not eat. וכן, בשאר תענוגי עולם הזה, and also with other pleasures of this world, הוא מחוסר הרגש הנאה בטבעו. He's not looking for all these physical pleasures. And because of that, in order to awaken in himself the love to God, not to sin, it's easy. He's a serious boy. God told him there's a God and you have to serve him. His mother told him, his father told him when he was young. And since then, he's doing the right thing. He's a serious little boy. Yeah? ולכן אין צריך להתבונן כל כך, he doesn't need to have great contemplation בגדולת השם, in the greatness of God, להוליד מבינתו רוח דעת ויראת השם, in order to awaken in his mind the awe of God, במוחו. By the way, we didn't learn over here how, but we know already. He just hinted to us, how does a Beinoni come to a situation where he can keep himself guaranteed from sin? And he told us, contemplation. That's how, the first thing. And by the way, over here he just says contemplation, to have awe of God in his mind, but he doesn't tell us what the contemplations are. In the Tanya, chapters 40 to 50, which we're going to get to much later on, it is going to enumerate exactly which contemplation, what to actually think about in order to get to that level. Lehishamer, to guard himself, שלא לעבור על מצוות לא תעשה, to never transgress on the negative commandments, ואהבת השם and the love of God בליבו, in his heart, so that when he does do the commandments, he does them properly, with full intention, with a full heart. לדבקה בו בקיום המצוות ותלמוד תורה, to attach oneself to God in doing the commandments and fulfilling the Torah, כנגד כולן, which like the Torah, as we said, is as important, as weighed as all other commandments. So he doesn't, for him, he doesn't need to think a lot in order to awaken it. See, in the previous chapters, we discussed the fact that every Jew has a love of God hidden in his heart. You remember? And we said that you can see that in a Jew that comes to an atheist. This is why Jews claiming to be, I'm an atheist Jew. I'm an atheist, but I'm a Jew. They're not able to tell themselves, I'm not Jewish. Because they all have and want a connection to God. Yeah, I'm an atheist Jew. So for this, in order to awaken it, he says, if we all have it, the question is, why do we sin? Why do we sin? It is because it's hidden. It takes an extreme situation in order to bring us out. But for him, for the Beinani, he can awaken it whenever he wants. That love of God. For us, sometimes we try, we succeed. Sometimes we try, we don't succeed. אלא די לו באהבה מסותרת, it's enough for him, the hidden love, אשר בלב כללות ישראל, that is in the heart of all the Jewish people, שנקראו אהבי שמו, that they are called lovers of his name. And therefore, because he doesn't manufacture, he doesn't have to battle against the evil inclination at all, because of the situation he put himself in, and by nature he doesn't desire physical pleasure so much. לכן אינו נקרא עובד כלל. We're not going to call him someone who serves God. He's not a server of God. כי, why? Why he's not a server of God? He never sins. כי אהבה זו המסותרת, because the hidden love that he brings out inside of him in order to fight, he didn't create it. He didn't work hard to create it. It was given in every Jew. It's true that he reveals it in himself. But he didn't create it. He didn't sit down and contemplate about godliness for an hour or two, and then he had a more love. He relies on the love that's already there. That wasn't his. It was given to him. You know what he's like? I'll give two analogies. I'll tell you a story. It's a true story that happened with me. Probably like 40 years ago, I went to yeshiva. And when I was in yeshiva, there were a couple of times where I, like a good Israeli, when you learn Gemara with somebody, you say your opinion and you show him how he's wrong and you're right and this one and so on and so forth and so forth. And I was like, the goal of my learning for a while was not to get to the truth of the Gemara. It was to show the other person that I know the Gemara better than him. That was the goal of the Gemara. And there was an Israeli rabbi who knew my language at that time. And he took me over to the side one day and he told me, Rami, I have a question for you. You know what's the difference between you and a blonde bimbo? Yeah, he says, who walks on the beach, who is happy that everybody is looking at her. So I looked at him, I didn't understand the question. And I said, no, what's the difference? So he says, there is no difference between you two. So I asked him, what do you mean there's no difference between you two? And he says, look at what you're proud of. You're proud of that what? That God gave you, made you a little bit smarter than the other guy, and you can understand it 2 minutes before him, and then you go around all day long thinking that you're better than everybody else. He says, you didn't do anything for it. It's not like you worked hard at understanding. God gave you a little bit more brains than the other person. And this says, that blonde bimbo that goes on the beach, she's proud on herself. What do you think about her? You think that she's a bimbo, right? Why? It says, you are exactly the same thing. There is no difference between you and her. So over here, that Beinani, that is not sinning, did he has anything to do with the fact that he's not sinning? No. That's the way God made him. God made me to lust after women, to lust after physical pleasures, and God made him to be called to it. It's not like he's doing anything about it. It's not that he's special.
He's still vulnerable.
We'll see. We will.
He's not in the other categories.
Yeah. It sounds like you're defining the tzaddik here.
Oh, I'm not defining a tzaddik, and I'll tell you why. Because right now he doesn't have a desire. But it's not because he doesn't belong to the desire. He keeps himself away from the desire by doing good acts. But if I will take him out of the environment that he's in, and I will choose his environment, he's smart enough not to go there. Yeah, he's going to have evil inclination. The reason he doesn't have evil inclination now, because he's smart enough not to put himself into the trouble.
So he's living in prison, in essence.
Or he's not dealing with the situation. He's not doing anything about it. He's staying exactly the same way God created him. He's staying on that level. He's not making himself better. He's not digging, as we're going to see soon. It's not his work at all. He didn't do anything about it. That's the way God made him. He inherited from our forefathers. לכלל ישראל, כמו שכתוב לקמן. To the Jewish people, like we're going to learn later on. And you're going to say, you know what? But I am not like him. I'm a Beinani who is not like him. Why? Because I used to have desires. And I didn't want to learn all day long. But I worked on myself. Until now, I don't have desires not to study. I train myself to be able to study all the time. So maybe now I can call myself a server of God still. And he says, no, you can't. וכן, and similar, אף מי שאינו מתמיד בלימודו בטיבו. Somebody who doesn't learn naturally, by nature. It's not his nature to be a learner. רק שהרגיל עצמו, but he trained himself. ללמוד בהתמדה גדולה, to learn with great desire, ונעשה ההרגל לו טבע שני. And that became like a second nature to him. So he was lazy by nature, but he trained himself not to be lazy, to learn Torah all day long. So he says to himself, I wasn't born this way. I created it. I worked hard in order to get it. So he says, even in such a case, די לו באהבה מסותרת זו. It's enough to awaken the hidden love that God gave him, not that you're creating. אלא אם כן, it says, when is it not? When are you actually called server of God? Here we're going to see the true definition of a Beinani and the true work of what we, each and every one of us, have to do every day. אלא אם כן, רוצה ללמוד יותר מרגילותו. It's only if you learn more than what you used to. Then you're called the server of God. ובזה יובן מה שכתוב בגמרא, and this is, we're going to understand now, a statement in the Gemara. The Gemara says something very strange. It says, Oved Elokim, you know who's somebody who serves God? Who's considered to be someone who serves God? היינו מי ששונה פרקו 100 פעמים. It is somebody who relearns the material 100 times. Let me just give some perspective. The oral Torah used to be learned orally. And because it used to be orally, it was never written down, the custom was every lesson that you learned, you have to go over it 100 times in order to retain it. That was the custom. So people knew, in order to be called a learner, in order to really grasp and not forget what you learned, you went over the material 100 times. So the Gemara says like this, מי ששנו פרקו 100 פעמים. So, בגמרא, דעובד אלוקים, היינו מי ששונה פרקו 100 פעמים. ואחד לא עבדו, היינו מי ששונה פרקו 100 פעמים לבד. So it says, somebody who's called server of God is somebody who learns his chapters 101 times, and somebody who's not a server of God, he doesn't serve God, he only learned 100 times. She says, what's the logic? Because 100 times was expected. 101 times, the Torah never said. It means you had to push yourself that 101 time more than before. And just because it's one more, it calls you server of God, it's 100 and 101, what's the big deal? Between 99 and 100, we're not going to say it. But between 100 and 101, we are going to say it. That one time more, you call the server of God. Why? Because that wasn't the custom. The custom of people was to learn 100 times. והיינו, משום שבימיהם היה רגילות לשנות כל פרק 100 פעמים. Because in those times, the custom was to learn everything 100 times. כדאית התם בגמרא. The Gemara gives a great analogy for it. What's the analogy? משל משוק של חמורים. It says, he gives it an analogy from the market of donkey drivers. Donkey drivers are the all-time taxi drivers or movers, whatever you want to call them. They either carriages, whatever, donkey drivers. What's the analogy? שנזכרים ל10 פרסי בזוזה. If you want to take a donkey up to 10 miles, you have to pay them 1 zuz. Up to 10 miles a day, you have to pay them 1 zuz. ול11 פרסי, but if you want to take him for 11 miles, how much do you have to take? Not a zuz and a tenth, or a zuz and a half. You have to pay 2 zuzim, double. Betray Zuzi. Why?
You didn't have meters back then.
They knew the distances, don't worry. They knew the distances. They were very well knowing. Betray Zuzi. In 2 zuzim. Why? מפני שהוא יותר מרגלותם. Because the donkeys were used to a maximum work of 10 miles a day. You take the donkey a little bit more, you can break him. It's not just a little bit more. That's it. That's his limit. His limit is 10 miles a day. That's what he's built for. And now you want to push him further than 10 miles? Pay double. The same thing, now you say the donkey now is a server of God. You know, I once saw an interview with Muhammad Ali. And somebody asks him what's important for a boxer. So he says his core. His stomach muscles are very, very important. So they asked him, how many sit-ups do you do? So Muhammad Ali says, you don't count how many sit-ups I do. You only start counting from the time it hurts. You don't count if you did. If you did 1,000, it means nothing. When do you start actually training yourself? From the time it hurts. From the time you're actually breaking yourself. That's when you're starting to actually train yourself. The same thing over here. לכן זאת הפעם 101, this is why there are 101 times, היתרה לרגילות, that is one more than what you used to, שהורגל מנעוריו, the one that you already used to do, שקולה כנגד כולם, is worth more than all together. In other words, you want to have a good core, the fact that you did 200 means nothing. If it didn't hurt. Once it starts hurting, now that counts. These are the ones that counts. ועולה על גביהן, and this is where you train yourself. This is when you become stronger. The one extra one. ביתר שאת ויתר עוז. That's what makes you stronger. להיות נקרא עובד אלוקים. To be called a servant of God. מפני, why? שכדי לשנות טבע הרגילות, in order to change the nature of what a person is used to, צריך לעורר את האהבה להשם. Over here, now you already need to create something new. You can't rely on what God is giving you. You need to dig deep inside within yourself and create a love that God didn't give you. Yeah? You need to do it. In other words, God is the Benoni, the first Benoni that doesn't serve God, yeah, that we call him not a server of God, he does everything for God all day long. But he never goes deeper. He just does whatever God wants all day long. Whatever is necessary, he's going to do. He's going to die for God. It doesn't matter what. He's not going to spend 1 second doing anything else besides God. But he never digs. He never created. It's not his. It's God's work. He didn't do it. He didn't create it. But this guy needs to awaken something new within him in order to go more than necessary. על ידי שמתבונן בגדולת השם במוחו, he has to look at the greatness of God in his intellect, לשלוט על הטבע שבחלל השמאלי, to control the nature that is in the left ventricle, which means he needs to break down the animal soul within him, that the animal soul is going to hurt, המלא דם, that is full with blood, הנפש הבהמית שמהקליפה, שממנה הוא הטבע, וזוהי עבודה תמה לבינוני. And this is what a Benoni is required. So we have the first rule of how to become a Benoni. The first rule of how to become a Benoni, I'll give an example. If a person gives charity, I know there's amounts that one's supposed to give. Let's forget about the amounts, just for our example. Until when should he give charity? When is the point that he should stop?
Until it's difficult.
Oh, very good. If it's easy to do it, if it's easy, the giving is easy, he's enjoying it. It's easy. Or maybe even not he's enjoying it, but he doesn't have to work hard at giving it. It's not his. It's something that God put in him. You know when it's your work, when it's hard. Once it starts to be hard to give, now you're working. And by the way, that rule comes for everything. When is it, when you have a relationship with a wife, for example, let's take that as an example because it appears a lot. If you're by nature a nice guy, this is your nature, you're a nice guy, and whatever your wife says, you say, yes, honey, yes, honey, yes, honey, you're not a good husband. A good husband is when you don't want to say yes, honey. Yeah? At those times that you're convinced that it's not, you shouldn't say yes, honey, over there say yes, honey. At least that. I don't say all the time, but at least sometimes. At least sometimes. This is the training of the Benoni. In other words, the Benoni wakes up in the morning and he knows, today I'm going to do more than I want. If he only does what he wants, he's a Benoni still, but he's not serving God. In order to be called someone who served God, he needs to go more than he wants to. More than he wants to. I want to go to sleep now. Yeah, I'm not going to go to sleep now. I'm going to sleep in 2 minutes. Yeah, he's already a Benoni. That's already serving God. But if he's exhausted and he says, I did everything I can do today, now I'm going to go to sleep, that's not a Benoni. And by the way, it is something that we can all use, and it doesn't matter which level we are. I'll give you an example. There's ice cream over here. I want to eat the ice cream. Yeah? It's okay to eat the ice cream. A Benoni will not, but let's say for us, it's okay to eat the money. Not now. Wait a minute and then eat the ice cream. You wanted to take 2 scoops? Take a scoop and a half. Make yourself take a little bit less. That's the idea. I don't say don't have the ice cream. Absolutely have the ice cream. Don't have as much as you want. Don't have as much as you used to. This is the first rule of the service of a Benoni, how to become a Benoni. A Benoni has to feel the work getting done. He has to feel the muscles get stretched. If the muscle gets stretched, he's not serving God. He's not progressing. So,
If you use a gym analogy,
let's just finish it and then we can do all the questions. Or, so the first thing, how does he come to it? He contemplates godliness. We said, he has to contemplate about God every time it's a situation. It says, God, I have to awaken inside of me an awe of God in order not to do the wrong things, or a love of God to do the good things better. If he cannot do that, or at least he can do what? He needs to work hard to awaken את האהבה המסותרת שבליבו, the hidden love that is in his heart. See, you remember the other Benoni, he also awakened the hidden love. So what's the difference? This Benoni has to work in order to awaken the hidden love. The previous Benoni, he didn't need to work. As soon as he thinks about God, it comes. He doesn't need to push it in like this guy. This guy, in order to awaken a love that he doesn't sin, or he will do a mitzvah, he needs to put energy into the system. He needs to into it. It's not going to come easy like for the other guy. למשול על ידה, to govern through it, על הטבע שבחלל השמאלית, on the nature that is on the left ventricle, שזו נקרא גם כן עבודה להילחם עם הטבע. This is also called a service of God, to fight against his nature. והיצר, and devil inclination. על ידי שהוא מעורר אהבה מסופרת בליבו, by awakening the hidden love in his heart. מה שאין כן כשאין לו מלחמה, it is not so when he doesn't have a war. אין זו אהבה מצד עצמה נקראת עבודתו כלל. Then he does serve God, but it's not him who's serving God. It's God who's serving God. You know, there was once a young man who came to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he asked him for a blessing so he would put tefillin every day. He says, I'm struggling with putting on tefillin. Some days I put tefillin on, some days I don't. I want a blessing. So the Rebbe tells him, I'm not going to give you a blessing. So he looked at the Rebbe strange. He said, if I ask for a blessing for money, you'll give me? He says, yes, but in this you don't give me. What's the idea behind it? Because the Rebbe says, because the putting on of tefillin has to be your mitzvah. It cannot be my mitzvah. If I give you a blessing and then you're going to put on tefillin, it's me putting on tefillin twice. It's my work who makes you put on tefillin. We don't want that in Judaism. We want your work. So it is supposed to be hard to put on tefillin. You're supposed to be struggling to put on tefillin. See, people have an idea that a Beinoni doesn't struggle. No. A Beinoni, not only he doesn't struggle, it's a feature within the system. If he doesn't struggle, it's a problem. As we're going to learn later on. He's supposed to be constantly struggling. He's supposed to have a hard time constantly. If he's not having a hard time, he's not doing his job as a Beinoni. He's not struggling. A Beinoni, that's his job. To constantly struggle, to constantly become better, to constantly strive. It's dangerous when we're going to talk about the dangerous. Some people take too much and then they revert to do nothing. So we'll discuss that later. Yeah? But the idea here of a Beinoni, the theoretical Beinoni is you're supposed to struggle and you're supposed to struggle constantly. And if you're not struggling, you're not a servant of God. Now we can take all the questions.
No, I think I was trying an analogy of sports. Let's say that you run 5K daily. So if I understand you correctly, one of two things happen. A, you do 5K, but you do it in less time, which means that's one way to increase the effort, or you increase the distance.
But you have to do something.
Or the third, today I don't feel good. So you just say, oh, I'll do 4K. You don't feel good, maybe don't do 5, but at least do more at your level of confidence.
Excellent example.
We continue class till 8:05. That's an example.
Yeah, very good.
You take extra 5 minutes rather than finish it.
Yeah, very good.
Do you think Hashem has a special affection for the man who's really struggling to fight the battle?
Not only does he have a special affection,
Is the guy who is naturally born with a special heart?
so I'll tell you, the Rebbe Maharash, I think, had many sons and many sons-in-law. And there were two sons-in-law who were called Mendel. Mendel is a Tzemach Tzedek's name. It's not just from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And they were called Mendel. And one of them was a genius beyond comprehension. A good person, a good midos, used to help, used to be involved in the community. And the other one was a regular guy. And constantly, people would see that the Rebbe Maharash has an affection not for the genius and the guy who's there. He had an affection for the other guy. And somebody once asked him, why do you like this son-in-law? You can see you have much more appreciation to this one than this one. So the Rebbe Maharash says, because when it's in the middle of winter in Russia, this is the middle of winter, and it's 2:00 at night, and the Hasidim are having a Farbrengen, they're sitting down together, and they're all eating and saying L'chaims, and there's no more mashke, there's no more L'chaim to say, he goes out in the middle of the night, in the cold, to go from house to house to search for mashke so that the Hasidim can say L'chaim. Means, what does it mean? He struggles. He appreciates that the fact, see, in yeshiva, there's two types of yeshivas. There's a type of yeshiva who the rabbi appreciates the person who's smarter, the person who's more learned, the person who's more. And there's another type of yeshiva that the rabbis appreciate the guy who tries to learn, who sits down and learn. See, the guy who's smart might not be a learner. And it's true, because he can understand the class, whatever takes the class 2 hours to understand, he can understand it in 5 minutes. And you know what he does the other 1 hour and 55 minutes? Nothing. He talks politics with the other guy. And while these guys are struggling through it, who do you appreciate more? The guy who struggled. The same thing with God. And we're going to see later on that the greater the struggle, it's like cooking, we're going to see. The analogy is going to be cooking. The sweeter the dish is going to be for God. God is going to appreciate. So the struggle is the purpose. The purpose is the struggle. The struggle is what makes heaven, bring heaven down to earth. That's what the struggle of the beginning. That's what a Jew is. The Jew is measured by the struggle.
That's a free choice.
That's what it means.
It's too easy.
Struggle with God. Israel means struggle with God.
Very good. Excellent.
So, and
Excellent.
He didn't pick smart people or great people. He picked common people as long as they would follow his laws.
Very good. Excellent. Very good. To struggle with God. That's what Israel meant.
We were talking a lot about serving Hashem.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't there a concept of serving the people, or no? I mean, like to serve the Jewish people. I mean,
That's part of serving Hashem.
Absolutely.
That's part of serving Hashem. I'll give you an analogy, another analogy. How do you know you really love someone? When you love the things they love. If you don't love Jews, you cannot love God. If you're a religious person who, when there's Jews doing things you don't like, you throw stones at them, don't blame it on your religion. God loves every Jew. And if you can think about hurting another Jew, it means you don't really love God. Yeah? The fact that your love to God, the more you love God, the more you will love Jews. The less you love God, the less you will love Jews. Think about it with the wife. The more you will love a spouse, a wife, the more you will appreciate the things that you buy that you don't appreciate. For example, flowers. Men, by the way, this is the reason why women like to get flowers. More than jewelry to some extent. Why? Because when you get flowers, you show your wife that she knows that you don't have any appreciation to a flower. In your mind, if you get a pot that's going to survive, for a couple of months, it's much more beneficial than a flower. The only reason you will get a flower is because you know that she likes it. You have zero appreciation for it. You actually don't appreciate it at all. You don't like it. And that's why they like it. And flowers is more important than jewelry. Why? They like it more to some extent. Not to every extent, to some extent. Why? Because flowers, you show that you are committed to buy them again. Because you know that in a week from now, they're not going to look good. And you're going to go again to buy flowers. Jewelry, it's a one-time deal. You give jewelry and you're done. Over here, this is the commitment. The commitment is, I love you to such a degree, I'll buy you something I don't appreciate. Yeah? This is...
I went to the Louvre to get diamonds for my wife.
What do you do now? My wife likes bakery. If I bring her like a croissant, that's better than diamonds.
There you go.
Cheaper too.
Much cheaper.
One thing which I always struggle with, because we said Benoni, most of us are not Benoni. I'll speak for myself.
Let's rephrase. Most of us are Beinonim who don't want to put in the work. We don't commit.
We have the potential. I call it the potential.
No. That's not how we learned it. It's very important that point. I want to make it. The point there.
So I don't do a mitzvah. I'm a Benoni because I'm a Jew.
No, you are a Benoni. That's the level you are in. You choose not to be who you are. It's not that you choose to go on a lower level because it's easier. God made you a Benoni. That's the way God created this creature. All Jews. Yeah?
So all the Reshaim, Benonim that made bad choices.
Not made. They're making right now.
Okay.
Don't put it in the past.
Timeline.
They're making.
Yesterday, I made poor choices.
Let's.
They don't want to fight. They don't want to
I'll give you an example for my life, so it's going to be easier. One of the commandments is that every Shabbat one has to read the entire parsha twice, and with the Targum Onkelos. It's one of the commandments. It's written in Shulchan Aruch. Now you'll find even within the religious people, some people do it, some people don't do it. But it's a commandment. It's one of the commandments, just like any other commandment. Yeah. For years I used to struggle. Sometimes I used to do it. Sometimes I did it for months on end. Sometimes I didn't do it. I used to struggle back and forth. Until about 15 years ago. I don't know. Maybe 10, 15 years ago. One day I decided, look, it can't continue like this. Then I was probably like 45 or 40. I decided, you're 40 years old. You've been struggling with it like Zeu. You're a rabbi. You're supposed to do it. Make a decision and just do it. So I used one of the systems that we're going to learn later on. Which system I use? There's a system that in order to do a commandment, use the evil inclination. Now, I know that I never eat, this is something I keep, it's like a taboo by me. I never eat before doing Havdalah. First I do Havdalah, and only then I will eat. And if I will not do Havdalah, I will not eat until tomorrow morning, until Monday. I will not eat. I will not eat until I'm doing Havdalah. So I gave myself one rule. You don't have to do shtay mikra. You know? But you don't eat until you finish it. That's it.
That's a good one.
And in other words, I said, you don't do shtay mikra after Havdalah. In other words, every week, I want to make sure that before Shabbos, before I do Havdalah, the shtay mikra is done. That's what it is. And that was the system. You know, I've been doing it for about, like I said, for more than 10 years probably. Never missed one time. Number one, it's because a choice I made, it was a choice. I made a choice to do it and I came up with a plan of how to do it. It was a regular choice. And the second thing was, how many times do you think Shabbos was over and I didn't finish Shtay Mikra throughout the last 10 years? You know how many times it happened?
0.
Twice or 3 times. It happened twice or 3 times. Do you know why? Because I know within myself I'm going to do it. So if I'm going to do it anyway, I might as well do it before I'm hungry. There's no reason to wait to do it after Shabbos. So I'll do it during Shabbos. So it happened twice or 3 times that I did it a little bit late, but I did it. And it was all a choice. I remember the moment I made the choice. The choice was, I'm going to do it. Today, there's many things, many commandments, who I didn't make a choice. I made a choice. I'm actually actively making a choice not to do it. That's why I'm on a Benoni. But it's not that I can't be, because I choose not to be. I am a Benoni. I choose not to be one. It's an active choice. We all make an active choice, whether it's too much energy for me, it's too hard for me, I don't know the plan. They're all legitimate reasons. Yeah? But it's a choice. So we are a Benoni that choose not to be. And you're right, in some aspect, I understand what you're saying, because you can't take upon yourself too much at one time, because then you're going to revert backwards. But even if you don't take too much, you have to come up with a plan how to move forward. If you don't have a plan how to move forward to become a Benoni, that's the problem. You have to come up with some kind of plan, as we're going to discuss later how to do these plans.